my mind.
Can you believe it? I am halfway through Kiryu's saga for Yakuza. What's up everyone? I am the Kaiju no Kami, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Yakuza 4. Despite its flaws, Yakuza 3 turned out to be a pretty solid game overall, and as I had said in my review of it, I felt it was a perfect finale to Kiryu's story to the point that I didn't mind the fourth installment wanting to follow a different character, or so it seemed initially. Yakuza 4 took a different approach to the Yakuza series and decided to follow the story of 4 separate characters that would intertwine with each other as the game's events played out. It was an intriguing idea, albeit a flawed one. There are multiple reasons as to why the narrative style does not work as well as it should have, and many players were not a fan of Kiryu's story taking a backseat for 3/4 of the game. While I clearly did not mind this aspect, I could totally see where they are coming from. Personally, Yakuza 4 is easily the weakest of the 5 games I have played through thus far. Its narrative is disjointed as it leaves a lot of plot holes that a truck can drive through with too much information missing, as if this was an abridged version of the tale while a director's cut has yet to happen. It also doesn't help that each character's plot takes place after the previous one's story, which leaves me scratching my head with the game's femme fatale, who claims she is leaving town immediately at the end of one person's tale, only for it to actually be a week or so later before that happens. I really think Yakuza 4 should have taken the epistolatory approach and had all of the events from each character going on at the exact same time, just under different viewpoints. Basically, think of it as like a Quentin Tarantino movie, specifically the highly underrated Jackie Brown. One final complaint with the story is how Daigo, a character who was fleshed out in the second and third games, shows up at the tail end of this one and is completely out of character to how he was portrayed in the previous 2 installments. I just don't get what they were thinking with this. Why would you do that to Daigo? It doesn't make sense. I won't go into details because obviously it would be end of game spoilers, but it is very, very, very frustrating what they did to him. Now for the characters themselves. Besides Kiryu, there is a former bum turned rich loan shark named Shu Nakayama, convicted murderer and former partner to Majima, who we saw a brief glimpse of in a flashback scene in Yakuza 0, Taiga Seijima, and a crooked cop whose biological dad and adopted father were killed under mysterious circumstances, Masayoshi Tanamura. Those of you who have watched Cowboy Bebop in Japanese will probably recognize Spike Spiegel's voice in Akiyama as it belongs to Koichi Yamadera.
もしあの新井さんが裏でつながっていた葛城の命令であのドンパチ事件を作為的に起こしていたとしたら
Rikiya Koyama voices Seijima, who was Joe of the Haze in Kamen Rider Black RX, and is in many anime series such as the likes of Fate Zero, Fullmetal Panic, Naruto, One Piece, Speedgrapher, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, and Danganronpa 3.
さすが兄弟や部下に教育しとるみたいやな
As for Tanamura, Toshiki Matsuda has also had a plethora of roles, some of which include Fate Grand Order, My Hero Academia, and Attack on Titan, to name a few.
頭を一撃、余分な発砲は一切なし。こりゃ殺す気満々で撃ってるね。
Surprisingly, he has not been in One Piece. Oh, and one final actor I need to mention that appears in this game is the amazing Kenichi Endo.
あの女すげえ必死だったぜ。雨の中ずぶ濡れになりながらここに来て。社長はやってませんってな。
Hukaku Ranger fans should recognize instantaneously. Each character has their own unique fighting style that you will either find yourself enjoying immensely or hating to death. I absolutely adored playing as Akiyama because his heavy focus on kick attacks made him a quick and fluid character to use. He was very well balanced in his attacks, and I rarely found myself losing a battle when it wasn't against a tough boss or something. I also love Akiyama's snarky personality.
そのさらに下の三次団体とはいえ、それはちょっと舐められすぎだ。
On the other hand, I hate Seijima, the dude is slow as freaking hell, which left me being knocked onto the ground many times over due to his inability to turn around quick while being attacked from behind. There's also an optional boss fight towards the end of the game where the boss has an infinite healing ability that moves faster than Seijima's attacks, which left me screaming at the TV for minutes on end. Thank the gods Tanamura had a good playstyle to his name, even if it doesn't match up to Akiyama's. His grappling abilities kick all kinds of ass, especially his heat moves that allow you to arrest your opponent. Lastly, there is Kiryu, and he plays exactly as to how you expect him to. Nothing more, nothing less. As with the previous game, you have a wide variety of minigames and sub-stories to dive into. The newest addition to the minigame family includes a very perverted rendition of table tennis, and whatever the hell pachinko machines are supposed to be. They are as enigmatic to me as Shogi and Koi Koi. Both the running and revelation mechanics return from 3. We are once again treated to some downright comical events thanks to the revelations that include a panty thief, a car crash, and a cop dealing with a hostage situation. The only complaint I have with the revelations this time around is that while each character may have a few to their name, they are not all original as characters will share events. I have no idea why they even bother to repeat the same scenarios multiple times. This would have made much more sense if the game had gone into the epistolatory route I had mentioned earlier. However, since it did not, it doesn't. As for running, it's no different. Each character receives their own set of sub-stories and standalone side missions. The vast majority of Akiyama's sub-stories deal with him interviewing people and sending them out on some sort of fetch quest to see if they are worthy of being loaned money. While the concept alone is intriguing, the execution is not. He also owns his own walking simulator. I mean cabaret club. If you saw my review on Yakuza 3, you know what to expect here, as it is the same damn thing. Tanamura has a police radio in his ear that will call out crimes when they occur, and you have a set amount of time to make it to that area to solve it. Once again, it can get a bit tiresome since the events usually bog down into beating up people or chasing after them. The most interesting sub-story in Tanamura's game is the one that revolves around the person who might have killed his adopted father. I also like the one where you approach some dudes trying to break into a car. Kiryu's section has a return of the street gangs from 2, along with some missions where he runs into the former leaders from that title. There's also one that includes a Toku-like superhero who gets powered up by eating curry. Well, not a sub-story. There is a moment where Kiryu has to change the diaper to a baby. Ew. Overall, the sub-stories are not as great as they were in the last few games, but at least none of them are hidden behind any mini-games, so completing them is achievable. Oh yeah, I forgot someone. Oh, Seijima. Yay. Seijima's sub-stories revolve around him running from the cops, helping some gangsters out for the sake of retrieving a little boy's sister, training fighters, one dealing with a femme fatale and a CD, and chasing a kappa. I'll definitely let you see that one for yourself. It is hilarious. One final aspect I want to mention about the character swapping aspect of the game that really frustrated me is you do not have access to any items a character acquires throughout their portion until the last chapter of the game, when you are given the ability to change characters on the fly. As such, if you do what I did and empty out every possible locker Akiyama was able to, which had items that both Tanamura and Seijima needed for their side missions, you are going to be unable to complete their quests until that last section, which sucked. I don't know how everyone else prefers to play this game, but I personally prefer to finish every element I can with a character before moving on to the next, so that kind of drove me nuts. Regrettably, the entire game takes place in Kamurocho, which is a disappointment given we had new locations to explore in the last few entries. On the positive side of the spectrum, they did at least give us some additional areas to traverse in, which includes an underground shopping mall, a parking garage, the sewers, along with some rooftops across the city. Getting to see the Millennium Tower from the rooftops was a nice sight to be had, given it's supposed to be the tallest building in Kamurocho at this moment in time. Tanamura also has access to Little Asia that was an integral part of Yakuza 0. He also partakes in a boat chase that is initially cool, only to drag on for far too long.
I'm bored!
The graphics are the same as they were in Yakuza 3, even down to the same animations and mechanics. There is an interesting section where it is raining, which does add some new shine to Kamurocho. Furthermore, the music is a vast improvement with a lot of ear-pleasing tracks that never grow tiresome. In the end, while there were many aspects I loved about Yakuza 4, it left a lot to be desired, especially with how slipshod the character switching element was. I know I said this in my Yakuza 3 review at the time because I said Yakuza 3 was my least favorite Yakuza game. However, now I'm going to say that Yakuza 4 is my least favorite Yakuza game. I loved a lot and I hated a lot. I hated more elements in this than I thought I would, which is a real shame because I had high hopes for this one. I just hope they fix all these issues in the next installment. Until then, bye.